Okay, so I have the absolute pleasure today to be with a dear friend, Hannah McKee. Now, Hannah has been a best friend of our family since I don't even know how long, to be honest, probably before I was walking. I feel like we have always been in
Mhm.
each other's lives. We were both to give context for everyone else, we were both from a very small town and we lived across the
Mhm.
street in two different instances. Is that I'm
Mhm.
remembering that correctly? I don't have a great memory, but I do remember that. So we
Uh-huh.
have we have been play buddies our entire lives. We have shared so many fun memories together, and most recently, we've been able to share the strategic planning for life experience together. Hannah recently went through the program about two or so, finished up about 2 or so months ago,
Mhm.
and let me tell you, she is a pleasure. She is wildly inspiring. I should say, you are wildly inspiring. You are so exciting to talk with and learn from. And I am so excited to share you with our listeners today and all that you have to offer. So, thank you for being here and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me. It's my first ever podcast interview, so I'm very excited. Let's do it.
I am telling you, you're going to be amazing at this. Okay, so Hannah, I would actually let's center in and share with everyone where you're physically at right now. Let's just use the present moment to kind of bring us
Mhm.
into the conversation. So, where are you at? Maybe you can give everyone an intro into where you're at, located, and then how that kind of came about, and then we can use that to kind of as a jumping off point.
Right. So I am coming at you from Sanibel Island, Florida. It's in Southwest Florida outside of Fort Myers. If you're not sure of where it is, beautiful island, lush, tropical beaches, bike paths, all the ice cream you can eat. It's a really beautiful place. And I'll actually be working from here remotely for 1 month. I've completed about 10 days so far. I'm here, have 5 other family members here with me right now. They've been here for about a week. It's been wonderful. Unfortunately, they're leaving tomorrow and Thursday, but we've had a wonderful time. And really, the trip came about because I love hanging out with my family. We've done a few beach trips, and with COVID, things kind of lapsed a little bit. And, we were feeling like we needed to bring something back. And it's important for me to hang with my family. So I decided to come to Sanibel. I said, why don't I just get a house big enough for everybody? So that's what I did. When I rented it, I'm sure the lady was like, wow, one person renting a 4-bedroom house. This is kind of odd. But yeah, so wanted a place where I could share and make new memories with my family. So started the adventure off with that, and then I'll be here another 2-ish weeks, just working remotely, enjoying the beach.
You know, thank you for sharing that. And one thing I loved about the work that we went through together and some of the insights you had, especially when it came around your mission, was
Mhm.
that idea of like you really go out and create experiences by living through the most authentic version of yourself. And it's something I've
Mhm.
known of you for a very long time. Like you go out and you just like adventure and you try
Mhm.
new things and you're so willing to do that. And then you kind of like invite people into it. And I just love that this trip ended up being that exact same experience. Like you were in a place where you wanted to explore where do I want to live? What do I want to do?
Mhm.
Where do I want to where am I going to bring that to life? Do I want to do an Airbnb? Do I want to do a B&B? What do I want to bring to life? And so because
Mhm.
you went and you started that adventure and you started researching, then you were able to do that and then bring people in. And I think
Right.
that that's such a beautiful application and integration of that awareness of yourself.
Right. It's been amazing, and I thank you for enlightening me because you're right. Like, I am very adventurous. I've only ever traveled by myself once, and I will never do it again, probably because it's not for me. Because, like you said, I like to have amazing experiences in my life, but bring people along that really have special meaning to me, whether it's family, girlfriends, friends, whatever that may be. It's really important. And I'm at a time in my life financially and both mentally and emotionally, where I feel, this is something that I can do for myself and for others. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it because selfishly, it makes me happy. It fulfills my mission, that we've identified together that I love. And it allows me to make memories and have more time with my family. So I don't know, I don't want to own it and say, oh, we wouldn't have done this if I wouldn't have planned it, but I'm definitely annoying and I push and I make it happen. I say, well, I'll have the place if you can just get there. And that seems to be working out. So I think I'll kind of stick to this approach.
Well, okay. So tell me about one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was you have always been that person who sets the plan, very good at achievement, very good at goal definition, and then just going after it. So in this case, you really brought if the goal was to spend more time together and to go and have a family adventure, like you went and made it happen. So it's like that same level of goal achievement that you've always have, just in a very meaningful way. Also, not like everything that you've always done is very meaningful, but this one in particular, you talk about your life intentions and what's successful in life and having those memories with your family. It's like super meaningful, right? And you get to like build on those experiences. But you've always been that way. You've always been really driven to define goals and to achieve goals. But can you talk to us a little bit about how you've kind of transitioned your thinking from the way you did it in the past to kind of how you're thinking about that now?
Yeah. So just for a little bit of context, in the past, I would sit down every December and write out my goals. And I had buckets for goals. I had financial goals. I always had weight loss goals, but those are probably the ones that dropped off the first. I would have like my adventure list of what were the trips I wanted to go on that year, so on and so forth. And I was very diligent about creating goals, and I would check in with myself monthly or quarterly on, how much had I saved, how am I doing on drinking water, so on and so forth. It came very naturally. And then with COVID, it kind of, I don't know if it just opened my eyes, but where I was working, they closed their office. So I said, well, shoot, we'll just go down to the mountains in North Carolina, work at my parents' house. That I thought was going to be a month. It turned into 2 years. And during that time, I just found it a bit difficult to know, like, what was I going to do? It was very hard to sit down and write out goals and start taking action steps to them. I'm very action oriented, but I couldn't even get the goals written down. I didn't know what I wanted to do and achieve. During COVID, I'd bought a house and turned it into an Airbnb, which was great, but it was like, okay, on that, what's next? I still couldn't, write my goals down. So I reached out to Krista with this course, and through the course, it's really helped me get back on track, not only with goal planning, but expanding my thinking on, I don't need to achieve the goals in a set amount of time. The journey is fluid. I have in my mind what I want to achieve. I just don't know the order in which I will achieve things, because I have many goals and dreams and aspirations. So the order in which they will be achieved, I'm not sure. And I'm just taking action steps towards, all of them, maybe not at once. Maybe I'm working on one, this week, something else the next month, whatever. But that has been helpful. And also just taking away this kind of time stamp of, I need to achieve X goal by X time. It's really allowed me to explore more of my mind, my soul, my heart, where I want to be. It's giving me the luxury of time to look into what's important to me in terms of achieving the goal. So I don't, achieving the goal in a certain amount of time is no longer the checkbox that I go after. It's, having the experiences, taking the time to do the inner thinking, talking with Krista and Phil, gabbing about it, sending them blobs of emails on my thoughts, just dumping on them, and hearing from them to really kind of mold and get to a really great place. But I've kind of taken that time parameter away from some key goals and aspirations I have in my life. And it can be tough. One of them is to have a family, and I'm approaching a big number in age in a few years. And it just kind of feels like I get a little anxious about it, but taking the time parameter away has really allowed me to see many options. It's given me calmness. It's granted me a lot of freedoms, if you will, in terms of my mind and thinking of what's next.
Oh gosh, the way that taking away the time parameter opens up the, what I'll say, like magic, or the, like you said, optionality, opportunities that we may not have seen if we're just like driving and grinding toward that goal. And oftentimes when we set that time parameter, we then say, well, it has to happen exactly the way that I see it happening. Right. We had talked before you joined that maybe the house, you've had kind of like a vision for the house being in Costa Rica, but now testing out quote unquote this goal, kind of being open to the timing and experiencing what it is that you really find giving and life-giving in the experience. You then see, oh, it can happen in a million different ways. There's so many options if I'm willing to kind of let that time element go and allow myself to let go of the attachment to how I think it needs to happen, which seems like that has been a big opener for you.
Right. And I agree 100%. And I would even offer up a couple examples. I'm a big believer in the universe, and I know we kind of like own our own destiny at the same time, but I do believe there's something out there pushing us towards certain dreams and goals. But I had looked to buy a house in Asheville, North Carolina for about 5 months, and I got really frustrated, and I was just like, it didn't feel right. I was going to buy a tiny home at first. Some things happened, didn't feel right. I backed out, went back living with my parents. Then I said, okay, now the time's right. Let's look for a house. Worked on that for about 5 months. Again, I know the market's tough, but it didn't feel right. Nothing was falling into place. It wasn't easeful, like you say. It was like, I was like pushing towards, I knew I'd get that in there for you.
You're amazing. I love it.
I was like pushing towards this thought of like, I had to have a house in Asheville. And I love Asheville. It's close to my parents. I love the mountains. There's lots to do, but it didn't feel right. And now that I've taken off the time parameters, I'm having so many more experiences. Like then I went to rent in an apartment for 10 months. And I thought by the end of that, I'd know where I'd want to live. Well, whoops, I don't. So I'm being a nomad. I don't have a house. I'm in Sanibel for a month. Then I'm going back up to our little hometown, and I'm going to live at my parents' farm for a little while, because I'm not going to make a decision or put roots until it feels right. So I'm giving myself the time. I had no plans of renting. I had no plans of going to live at our farm where there's squirrels in the roof and mice, and I'm just going to deal with that. And my dad's going to help, fix that up. But it's like, I didn't plan to do that, but it's like part of the journey. And now that I'm in Sanibel and I've allowed myself this time, working in a different location, I'm starting to see things crystallize of what I want. And now I know trying to buy a property in Asheville didn't happen because it's not where I'm supposed to be. It's not where I'm supposed to put roots. But if I would have said, I need to buy a house within a year in Asheville, I could have made a very detrimental decisions to be in a place that I'm not meant to be. Now I see I'm a beach babe, like all the way. Like I got the wavy hair, I got the freckles, I got blonde, whatever. Give me a bike, I'm, solid. So that has shown me the time parameters. And I'd say my other example would be, I love Costa Rica. I studied there. I've been there. I worked there for a month earlier this year. and it's beautiful. It's hot. There's no humidity. It's amazing. But now that I've been at Sanibel, I'm a woman of simple pleasures, and I'm really seeing that, there are other places that you can have that beach experience that may check off more boxes, like having a bike trail, having a family environment, having, this lush tropical place that I hadn't considered, but it's because I'm allowing myself time and experiences to help me realize, okay, what is it that I really want? It's not to say that Costa Rica is off the table, but I'm seeing, just giving myself the time and the space is really allowing things to fall into place. It's me to get more insights of what's important to me and what I can actually let go, and it's really not that important to me anymore. And so again, taking that time parameter off of achieving goals is really allowing me to get to a better place of the goals that I want to achieve. Does that make sense?
Yes. And there's so much juicy content in there that I just want to like dive into. There's always like a million things that I want to hit on. But you said, I'm a woman of simple pleasures, right? And you really felt that when you're riding your bike in Sanibel and when you're experiencing the place. And even you shared that going up to Captiva, that has, the difference is Sanibel has very public, they have public facilities. They make it very comfortable for families. You can jump on a bike and ride on the trail. You go up to Captiva and it's a little bit more closed off. It's a little more personalized for these bigger properties that are there. And you could immediately, same place, same Florida, see the difference. Like,
yes,
energetically, I'm not Captiva. I'm more Sanibel. You can feel that while you're there. But if you're in Asheville and you're just like on your computer, sitting on the couch, looking at Costa Rica, Sanibel, Captiva, you can't always get that like full energetic experience. You can't get that full, like, what do I really align with? But when you go and you experience it, there's that knowingness that I think you're tapping into. That is I know you're tapping into like the yes and yes to this right now. And Costa Rica might be a yes, but not right now. And that data is in us. And so when you're there and reflecting on it, that's where oh gosh, the insights really come from. That's why we always say, like, if there's something that you feel called to, go try it. Just try it, test it out, do the experiment, right? And sometimes because we are so attached to the timing, like you're saying, which I think is so beautiful, when you're attached to the timing, you're like, well, I can't do that because I got to do it right now. I got to achieve the goal right now. And the next 6 months. So I don't have the time to test out these different things. We got to go fast. Right.
Yes.
But Deepak Chopra, I was just listening to him the other day, and he said, we're always in this mindset of like, do the things, achieve the things, do it fast, 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 fast. And then people are literally running out of time, right? Because their bodies are in hyper speed for so long. And then they actually run out of time early. So it's like, would you rather like enjoy those simple pleasures that really align with you and make life so full, or just run right past them to get to the place you think you're supposed to be?
Exactly. It's like we were talking before, my to-do lists are consistently getting shorter and shorter, not only like in my personal life, but in my professional life as well, because I'm starting to see priorities and what I need to do, where I need to focus for me to live my mission, my best life, our goals that you helped me crystallize, which I'm very thankful about. But now it's like, I don't like to start working before 9 a.m. or p.m. because I have a lot that I need to get done for me. And girl, now that I'm at the beach, there's a lot of bike riding that needs to happen. Before that, there's a lot of beach time. But, it's great because like I'm really getting set on my priorities. I don't need to have a million things to do anymore. I need to have the right things to do on my list that are going to make me feel at my best self, like I'm living my best life, like I'm thriving, and that I'm, living my mission every day, because it's an everyday thing. It shouldn't be, I'm going to do it this month and not next month. No, this course help find a mission, and it's something that you should live every day.
Yes, 100%. And doing it in those, they're just such small ways, right? Such small
Right.
increments where I love what
Mhm.
you said. I've got to fit stuff in for me first. And so often
Mm.
what we hear is like, well, that's selfish. It's selfish for me to take that
Mhm.
time for myself to do the bike ride. No, I should dive into
Mhm.
work. I should get the work done. I should spend all
Right.
day doing that and then give to everybody else. But what I think what I'm hearing you say too, and what we believe is that you get so much energy from that, prioritizing
Yes.
those things. You feel like such a better
Mhm.
person. So when you are doing the work task, you're probably doing it like 10 times better because you have so much
Right.
more energy to do it. And then you
Mhm.
minimize the amount of time that it takes to do something and maximize the value.
Right. Well, when you get really clear on your mission and your values through this course, you really start focusing on priorities, like placing the right priorities, like we discussed in your life. And when you get clear on priorities, even in your professional life, that helps you time for the priorities that you focus on in your personal life. And that's probably one of the best gifts I've received from this course, is really understanding that and realizing that we can push those boundaries. But until we prioritize what's necessary at work, like whatever we do to pay the bills, you call it work, you call it fun, whatever, you got to make money, whatever you do for that, like get clear on that, so you can open up a lot of other space and time for the things that really feed your soul and feed your mind and feed your heart. You may get that in your work, and that's great, but I bet there's a force or a reckoning to say you probably get a lot more outside of that. And when you give yourself more time for the outside of it, that's where you start feeling different as a person, as a human being.
Yes. And do you ever, this keeps coming up for me to ask you, so I have to ask, do you ever
Mhm.
feel, especially coming from, you and I have both been in that same mindset, growing up and becoming adults, where we were like career oriented,
Mm.
achievement, work all the time, kind of like really focused on work, in our early years. Do you ever find your ego flaring up and being like, why are you on the bike right now? You should be working, or you should be doing this other thing. Like, do you ever see it flaring up and you kind of have to remind yourself, yeah, but these things, these are the practices, these are the tools that kind of keep me centered, keep me in alignment. Do you ever feel those flare ups? Just for anyone listening, because I know there's just so many high achievers out there.
Mm.
They're like, yeah, that sounds great and all, but like, I have to work, I have to do things. And it's like, yes. And so
Mm.
what does that ever happen to you, and how do you manage it?
Yes, there are flare-ups. There was a flare-up this morning, if I'm going to be honest with you.
We love honesty.
But so it goes, you have to get comfortable in the journey. So you do this course, I recommend this 1,000 times. But this is not a one and done thing. It's not like you're going to go through the course with Krista and Phil and learn all these great tools and techniques and skills and then never have to go and like practice. Like, this is a sport. Living your best life is a sport, and you have to practice it all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you feel out of whack, when you have these flare ups, I ask myself, why? Like, why am I getting so upset about this? What is it about this task? And a lot of times it will be because, quite frankly, I've tried to minimize my work time, and I've tried to compartmentalize it and box it in certain times of the day. But people that I work with don't only work in those time frames that I work. And so sometimes you have to flex and maybe do things outside of your plans whether it's the time of day you do something or how you do something. I'm getting very good at working from cafes and gyms and wherever, because I got things to do in my life. I don't want to sit at my house in front of my computer all day because I have a meeting at 2:30, because I work with folks in California, like, God love them, they're great. But, it's like, no, like, that's not for me. And so it's always practice. You got to come back to it. And it's trial and error. You're going to learn a lot of tools from Krista and Phil, and maybe some that they recommend are great. And then some they recommend and you try and be like, that might not be for me. But you just got to keep trying and molding and figuring out what works best for you and what you're trying to achieve. It's going to be a process, and you've just got to own it and know there's going to be joys and triumphs, and there's going to be challenges and times where you have to take a step back, but it's a wonderful journey to be on. I will say that.
It is like going to the gym. We say, if you go to the gym one time throughout the year, what's going to happen? Nothing. Like, you're going to feel one time of like, oh, I went to the gym. But
yeah, that booty's going to sag, girl. That's what's going to happen.
The booty is going to sag unless you make some major changes elsewhere.
Right.
that idea of like coming back and practicing, and really what made my heart sing was when you said there are going to be things that work for you, and then there are going to be things that don't work for you, because this is the process of figuring out what is best for you. And so try, like you said, like, try different things, do different things, see how it feels. For the things that don't work, throw it out, like, get rid of it. But that the point is the practice of doing it, reflection on that, and then changing it, iterating on it, designing it in a way that works for you. And I think that that's what we get so excited about. And that's where the freedom comes in, that freedom of, like what you said, like, sitting and wait until 2:30 meeting. That is not for me. That might be great for someone else, but it's not for you.
Right.
And that freedom there, where you can say, that just doesn't work for me, so I'm going to choose a different path. I'm going to choose a different road on my journey, because like, that's not my thing. Like, that makes me so excited, because it's about your journey, not you copying and pasting from someone else's, but really figuring out what's right for you. Gosh.
Right. Yeah. And just take some risks. I was worried about coming to Sanibel because it's a month, and I'd worked abroad for a month, so I knew it was possible, but this is our planning time and it can be a bit busy, but I knew I was coming. So I worked ahead, to give myself the space to enjoy this. And I think that's what I'm learning too, is like, it's not always going to be gravy every day, every week, every month. Like, this month is going to be great. And then when I get back up to the farm, I might have to hunker down, for a few weeks or a month. But I will be so happy that I gave myself this month in Sanibel, and that I made it work, and then I jumped in and tried, and used the tools that Krista and Phil gave me to see if this is possible, because girl, I'm seeing it's possible. And I'm like, this is like one of our busiest times, and I can make this work now. Wow. What else can I do? What else can I make work? I'm going to be taking college classes when I get home during the day, and I got to go sit at a university. I'm going to be the oldest one in the class, but girl, I'm going to own it. It's going to be great. But it's just like, I've done this, and then it's like, oh, okay, this worked. Now I'm going to try this. I'm going to do that. Like, it's a roll, like a snowball effect. I've done it. I see that it works. I want to keep seeing what else I can achieve.
It's like, we call it, Phil and I say, it's like pressing into reality. Everyone might tell you it's not possible. Your brain will tell you it's not possible. But when you actually try and you just go see, and you just, like you said, play with it, take some risks, then you expand your capacity. And you realize what's fully possible. And you're like, oh shit, that's possible. Now what can I do? What about this? What about that? And then it all, like, that snowball effect is so spot on. Wow. Okay. So really in the essence of time, and being to be thoughtful of time, are there any last thoughts that you want to share with the listeners? Anything that is just like inside of you that needs to come out?
I just really want to say thank you. I've known you forever. And I had been so great at doing my own goals. I was kind of like doubting myself, but I am not a sit around and wait kind of person. And I talk a lot with my mom, and I was like, I need something to help me. And so, we reached out and we talked a lot about, before I even jumped in, about doing a group or individual. And, we landed on group, but didn't work out. So I did individual, classwork or work with you. And I would just say, like, anyone out there that is like remotely considering investing any ounce of time and money in themselves, and they've come across this, I would say do it 1,000 times, jump in. What you get out of it is you're just going to warm your heart. Like, just the conversations with Krista up front were just so meaningful. She really helps you uncover a lot of awareness and what's important and defining a personal mission. I've never done that in my life, like had a personal mission. You do it all the time at work, but not for myself. And I'm really clear on that now. And then once you get clear on all that, then you start working with Phil, and he's like me, so good at like action steps and ideas. Like, you could have like too many ideas, but it was just like, just like unlocking so many tools and skills and thoughts to really kind of help you get out of, this kind of sit around and wait mindset. But like, what are the smallest actions that you can do to start working towards this? And for me, like, honestly, like blocking my calendar was one of them. Why hadn't I thought of that before? I don't know, but Phil like brought that to me, and I really do that. Not only when I'm like not at Sanibel, but you just learn so many tools and skills. And then, the group chats and the connectivity after is amazing. So my really long response, what I would want to say is, like, if you're considering it, do it, jump in, find a way to make it happen. I think you're going to be amazed and surprised at just what you'll learn about yourself, and then the changes that you see in your life. You'll be very thankful that you took this course.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That makes me blush and also makes my heart explode. And I'm very grateful, of course, for the experience to do this work with you. It's not every day that you get to do it with such a good friend and have so much fun. I mean, we have so much fun with everybody we get to do this for and with, but being able to do it with you was like extra special. So thank you for trusting us on that journey. Thank you for sharing your story with all of our listeners, and for, gosh, continuing to do the work and be in it with us. It's so fun to like be able to do it together now, ongoing.
It really is. It's been a blast, and I love sending you emails. Hey, thinking of this. What do you think? It's been wonderful. So thank you so much.
All right, friend. Well, we will get to talk to you soon. To anyone listening, is there any place where they can follow along in your journey or connect with you online?
Well, I'm really not a social media person. I am on Instagram. You can find me. I don't post a whole lot, but if you want my email or cell phone, if you want to reach out to Krista or Phil, I'd be happy to chat with you. But I am terrible at social media. So email me or call me or text me. More than happy.
I love it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of us in that boat these days. So I appreciate that. All right, friend, we will talk to you soon. And everyone, thank you for listening to today's conversation with Hannah.